Hello, UATV is online. I'm Enrique in interview on UATV. Today we're discussing a global shift in the global security paradigm. The 21st century has taught us one but very hard lesson. From the Middle East to the fields of Donbas in Ukraine, international agreements are worth only as much as the strong army behind them. And that's it. Today, to talk the thing over, we are joined by a military expert from the Ukrainian Institute for the Future and a former employee of the Security Service of Ukraine, Ivan Stupak. Hello, Ivan.
Good day.
Hello. Russian ultimatums, deadlines, or to put it in Russian, lines of debt, whatever. Russia is once again throwing ultimatums at Ukraine. Complete liberation of Donetsk region by the end of May, or we're now in early April 2026. And after Russians, like, for example, captured Pokrovsk, many expected Ukrainian forces just to fold, to collapse, but this did not happen. So now, my question is, why now these ultimatums? And what is this Kremlin new deadline is even about, do you think?
Oh, it's a tricky question, really, to be honest with you.
Right.
Look, from current perspective, any ultimates, they could be considered as a bluff. From my side, Russia Federation is bluffing because they have nothing to propose to Ukraine or to Western society. I mean, from the term of threatening. Okay, we are in this war for 4 years in a row. 4 years, and just right now, Russia started proposing some kind of ultimatums to Ukraine. You have to withdraw your armed forces from the rest territory of Donbas. There are approximately about 15% of Donbas region is not captured by Russian armed forces. Or what? They will continue this role in advance, or they will propose something new, or will start threatening Ukraine with nuke weapon. Nobody knows. So from this point, I consider it only like a bluffing.
All right, if they're bluffing, they obviously are unable to build on the success after the breakthrough near Pokrovsk. They were not. Why? And why now Konstantinovka and Gulaipole are becoming the centers of combat gravity? From the military point of view, can you please a little bit talk us through that thing?
Look, there is no military point of view. There is only political point of view, because
Okay.
the city of Konstantinivka, city of Pokrovsk already captured, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, they are the part of the Donbas region, which and Russia is obsessed with capturing these territories. Just for your audience to understand how significant Russian presence on this location, just to understand. Look, according to latest statements from Ukrainian General Staff, the approximate number of Russian ground forces near city of Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, and city of Konstantinovka, just imagine, there are approximately 170,000 of individuals. 170,000. It's a total amount of the whole German army. The German army is about 180,000. The whole Poland army is about 200,000. So just imagine the whole Poland army or German army continuing rolling in advance, just on small direction, just to understand. And answering your question, city of Kramatorsk and the Slavyansk, because these are two last fortress which Russian general staff and the whole political command would like to seize and to put Russian flag on the ground and declare these territories as territories of Russian Federation.
But they just can't. It's not happening. And despite all that is happening on the front line, the Trump administration continues to pressure Ukraine for some reason, to give Russia what it wants, like to award it for the aggression, in exchange for vague security guarantees for Ukraine. Well, vague for me. All these guarantees are not vague, and they're real, or not. Or these are even not guarantees. What do you think?
There is no any security guarantees. No, because U.S. administration proposed some kind of deal. Hey, Ukraine, you have to withdraw from this territory, and lately, maybe we will get some agreements with you, maybe, but nobody knows. Anyone who ever dealt with insurance company could understand that insurance company, in case they don't want to make a money refund, they won't do it. So the same situation with any guarantees. The guarantees, for example, if they are proposed to Ukraine, and for example, if next administration or current administration don't want to execute them, they will just refuse. Or they could say, "Hey, Ukraine, we could not literally hear you. We don't understand what you're talking about or about what kind of guarantees." So the best guarantees for Ukraine is Ukrainian military industry complex and Ukrainian armed forces. That's all.
Yeah, well, it looks like you're absolutely right if we're talking about the previous Budapest guarantees, right? And while Western politicians have been discussing all this time abstract things, again, abstract to me, like security umbrellas, I don't understand what is that. For years, they've been talking about that. And Ukraine has already created its own unique system, military ecosystem, if you will. We're not just fighting back. Ukraine is learning faster than any NATO army in the last 70 years. It is a bare fact. And now it is their theoretical guarantees of paper and our experience of survival in conditions where no other country would have lasted even a week. That's, I know, because I've been here for 4 years. So let's talk about the sky now. The other day, we just saw a record attack, a number of it was 360 drones, if I'm not mistaken, Russia sending on us, but this time during broad daylight. This is something new. No night terror, instead daylight. Why?
To be honest with you, nobody knows. Really,
Right.
nobody knows. Well, probably one of the explanation is the next. Just night before this day attack, during the night period, Russia sent about 400 drones on Ukrainian territory and some amount of cruise missiles. And just in a couple of hours, they started new day attack. And then maybe the main goal was to exhaust Ukrainian armed forces, to exhaust anti-aircraft systems, and maybe they would like to caught Ukrainian armed forces by surprise. So nobody is prepared, nobody is ready, and about 400 of air targets just approaching, and they go through Ukrainian territory. But the most of these targets, about maybe 90-95%, they were intercepted by Ukrainian intercepted drones, or they were downed by electronic warfare, or oh, that's all. So Russia tries to implement different strategies, different tactics, and we should be ready. And here's some numbers for your audience. Just for your audience to understand, the last year, 2025, Russia managed to launch about 55,000 of different type of drones on Ukrainian territory. And just now, I'm not talking about the front line. Front line, it's just a kind of
Right.
other story. I'm talking about just a territory where mostly living the civilians.
Population.
About 55,000 of drones. It's about 4,500 per month, just to understand the numbers.
Well, they were expecting they were not going to respond like we are Russians, like we're not going to respond or we're going to scatter. But Ukrainian response, there is a Ukrainian response on Russian aggression. There is, and it's rapidly evolving. You mentioned drone interceptors. There's all this smart electronic warfare, acoustic sensors. Everything is emerging. This is an era of cheap drones costing like what? Couple of $1,000s per one interceptor. So what if I say that the era of missiles that cost millions of dollars is coming to an end? Would I be right?
Okay, I could only partly agree with you, and I'll explain why. Look, from one perspective, of course, this, as I showed to you before, these small drones are very effective. Of course, it's not a drone interceptor which could intercept Shahed drones. It's just a FPV drone. Of course, they're cheap. They could be produced. As chief of Rheinmetall company said, on every kitchen and almost everyone could print it on 3D printer. Of course, it's a great idea, it's cheap, it's reliable, but unfortunately, to intercept huge ballistic, or I mean huge in the speed ballistic missiles or cruise missiles with average speed about 800 kilometers per hour,
Right.
any drones is able. So we should rely on really partly on the classic anti-aircraft system, on the classic tanks, armored personal vehicles, etc. But the new era, really, I agree with you, is rising. Is era with small drones, interceptors. Small drones, these drones, could replace some kind of equipment which is called NLAW, javelins, because
Right.
javelin anti-tank system costs about, if my memory serves me well, about more than $100,000. So this is 500, and it's equal with efficiency. But nevertheless, we could right now see that the shift, or we could see shifting of the strategy of military industry complex, and maybe in 5 years time or 10 years from now we could see that small private companies which operates with a modern sophisticated 3D printers, they could print almost everything, starting from light armor munition, also machine guns. Of course, they could not be reliable or durable for decades, but for example, for several years, it more than enough, and they could be cheap. And these small producers could also print maybe some small, not medium, small range missiles. I think it's possible. So. Anyway, we could see that situation is changing.
Right. Well, not everyone is seeing that. Obviously, you mentioned Armin Papinga. Mr. Papinga just probably could be, as Zelensky just brilliantly put it, a housewife could just replace him just as well if he's not following what's going on. But Persian Gulf countries obviously following. Ivan, all these deals, and today Ukraine is the only country that knows, for example, how to, resist a swarm of drones, like 300 or more, and at the same time not to go bankrupt. Spending super expensive missiles and unblock sea routes, by the way, and neutralize the enemy's fleet without having its own navy fleet, by the way. So in this new brave world, our experience is hard currency. When I say our experience, I mean Ukrainian experience. That cannot be cancelled by any decree. It's a demand. And we were forced to become a security laboratory for the world. And we are now ready to export the experience, the results. Ukraine has signed 10 years agreement with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, followed by the UAE. Historically, these countries have relied on America, on US protection. Now they are pushing the United States away these days, only because Trump said something bad offered a prince to kiss him wherever he offered to have a kiss, but or something else, something bigger is changing.
Yeah, you're totally right. It was an awful situation when Mr. Trump insulted Prince of Saudi Arabia. It was disaster, diplomatic disaster. But nevertheless, okay, let's move forward. These three countries, as you named, Qatar, Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, they signed contracts with Ukraine, and moreover, Mr. Zelensky, president of Ukraine, also visited Jordan, and he discussed several defensive issues with leaders of the Jordan, but especially I've never heard about the signed agreements, but maybe they were signed, but it's not discussed in the publicity. What we're talking about right now, really, as I mentioned before, we could see that the era of classic military producing companies, they start reducing their markets, because Ukraine in classic conditions, they could not be able to supply Saudi Arabia and all these countries with something really cutting edge, with some sophisticated technologies or whatever, because to be honest with you. These drones, it's not something. Something expensive with a huge technology. No, it's very simple, very primitive, but it works. It
Right.
really works. And from my perspective, I could see that the companies such as Rheinmetall, just one, and the second, and the others, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, they could understand that the smaller countries, compare with small countries like likewise Ukraine, and the small companies, as we got numbers in Ukraine,
Right.
they
Right.
could start biting this huge pie of military contracts. And right now, Rheinmetall theoretically lost several 100 million of possible contracts which they could get from the Saudi Arabia, but instead Ukrainian got these contracts.
And good. Amen to that. I don't like to see anything better than that. I mean, I like to, but that thing I like also. And we offer new partners counter drone systems and naval drones, electronic warfare experience, and building an effective deterrent system, joint production. Yes. And we're getting money for that, of course, to fund our own fighting back Russian aggression. But there is something deeper, what I meant. I see strategy, or this is pure tactic for a moment.
Strategy, come again, please.
Strategy, I mean that like we're going to sell not only drones, no matter how much, but we are going also to evolve and innovation are going. And it is inevitable for if someone lost its market, like Rheinmetall, they cannot coming back. So the strategic initiative, it looks to me as not professional. To me as not professional. It belongs now to Ukraine, or maybe I'm just wishful thinking here.
No, you are totally right. Of course,
Right.
we're not talking about the producing combat jets or aircraft. Of
Right.
course, we are not able to produce such kind of military equipment. But the small objects which could be used as
Objects,
a
right.
cheap alternative for huge expensive US produced missiles. Of course, it's great for us, for Ukraine, because we have experience, we have a technology, we have expertise, but we don't have money. And on opposite side, Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Gulf countries, they don't have experience, expertise, but they have money. And this situation is called win-win. So Ukrainian won and Gulf countries also won. And one of the most advantage point from this side, the speed of production. Ukraine could produce about 1,000 of these drone interceptors per day. So 1,000. And right now, Ukraine could supply Gulf countries with these drones. Not next year, not next decade, but this month,
Right.
April of 2026. It's a great advantage.
Ivan, I'm going to ask this question again. 100,000 drones per one day?
1,000, sorry, 1,000 drones per
1,000.
day.
Right.
Produced.
Okay. Well,
1,000, sorry.
anyway, it might be enough. But we're not talking about the Persian Gulf countries. This just also NATO. And if NATO membership remains on hold forever, can maybe a network of bilateral agreements with the Gulf and Northern European countries create something else instead? Like, if not Ukraine joining de jure the NATO, then maybe there's something else that de facto Ukraine is joining. Let's call it NATO de facto, something else. A reliable, this time, military defense alliance.
Yeah, of course. Look, Ukraine could propose to NATO countries and any other countries lots of decisions. I mean, decisions which were tested in military condition, and lots of Ukrainian experience, starting from infantry experience and up to anti-aircraft system, how it works, how it's going, or how it should be. Sorry, but the main obstacle from my side, it's there are lots of huge companies which works in military industry and in different countries. It doesn't matter. Netherlands, UK, Poland, because they have great lobby in political circles, and they, it's not just my suggestion. No, I've heard from several representatives from European countries that they stated the next. Look, we do understand that Ukrainian solutions are simple, cheap, reliable, but on the other hand, we've got lots and lots of people next to government which have some doubts, lots of doubts about Ukrainian reliability of Ukrainian munition, and they are lobbying that the contracts should be agreed with these huge companies, and they should continue producing huge submarines, nuke submarines, huge missiles, lots of helicopters, lots of combat jets, because it costs a lot, and it gives lots and lots of money to these producers, because on these drones you cannot get lots of money.
Yeah, I know, maybe, but you can get some security, that's for sure. And when it comes to your life and death, it depends on a very easy decision. I mean, it's not a hard decision, but maybe if they're not wanting it, maybe Ukraine can become, again, maybe a wishful thinking, but can Ukraine become a hub for Western companies where weapons will be produced without what you were talking about, the bureaucratic stuff and lobbying like big submarines and spaceships and whatever delays of the EU or the United States, just a free economic weaponry and security zone in Ukraine? Ta-da!
It could be, but unfortunately not right now, not during the war period, because the territory of Ukraine is pretty small, to be honest with you, and everybody knows, comparing with Russia Federation. And every single inch of Ukrainian territory could be observed by Russian intelligence, is using satellites, etc., etc. And every single inch of Ukrainian territory could be hit by a Russian drone or cruise missile or ballistic missile. So any enterprises could be located on Ukrainian soil just only after war is over, just in terms of security issues. So only security is a great obstacle for starting new joint production on Ukrainian soil.
Well, what can I add to it? Amen to that. Let it happen. Thank you so very much, Ivan, for your time and expertise.
Thank you so
Again,
much.
it was a great pleasure to talk to you as usual.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so much.
US actions in the Middle East, Iran's attacks and retaliation on its neighbors, the Russian Federation's bloody war against Ukraine, which has been going on for 12 years by now. All these events, once again, clearly showed all of us that the old rules just do not apply anymore. And it seems like Ukraine knows what new sets of rules is emerging. Thank you so very much. My name is Henry Key, and that was UATV and interview on UATV. Stay safe and tuned for more.